Welcome to Marriage, Let's Talk, hosted by legendary worldwide marriage encounter leader, Father Rosy Rosebrough, featuring Catholic married couples from around the world who demonstrate healthy communication for building better marriages. And now, here's Father Rosy.
Hi, Father Rosy here. I'm glad you could join us today. This podcast is not talking about marriage. It is where we're going to share how to create a better marriage through communicating feelings in authentic ways.
We wrote some letters about decisions we had to make in the past. And, there are always decisions we have to make, and some of them are difficult. And we reflected on some of these decisions we made and that were difficult for both of us, and we share our feelings about them.
I mean, just as a single person, making decisions about life, you can get very pragmatic, like in pros and cons and weighing priorities, but it is a lot different when you're married and you're making decisions for, not just us, but our extended families as well. It affects other people. So we thought we want to talk today about that mixed feeling of making decisions. There's a lot of bliss involved for the future, and then there's a lot of remorse, like, hey, what did we just say no to? What did we just move away from?
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and start with my letter, and then Juan will read his letter to me. And then this time I'm going to be asking him questions, and he'll elaborate his answers. So, dearest Juan, do you remember one of my best friends, Angela? She recommended a book called The Adventures of Being a Wife by Mrs. Norman Vincent Peale. The book was about her gratitude of being loved by her Christian husband. What a blissful bond, right? Blissfulness is found by being grateful, she seemed to hint. How could I not be grateful? Remembering our first year together, we moved from Michigan to New Ulm, Minnesota. It was like moving from one snow globe to another, but this one was more frigid. And this snow globe seemed to be shaking a lot and bumped a lot. Our bliss was shooken up with angst of being so far from our families. I was states away, and you were at least one continent away. And then it was mixed with the excitement of a new beginning. My bliss was probably a 33 out of 10 being newly married, but my remorse was a 3 out of 10 on the same day. I couldn't help but feel that yanking of my career that I had been building for 13 years. I would admit, though, that I was getting burned out and I needed a break. I also had halted my studies. I needed a break from that too. And moving to Minnesota tundra sounded like a very swell place to pivot. Within 5 months, I enrolled in other studies, found a job. You always cheered me on. I remember graduation when the other fellow graduates asked, okay, who's got the happy husband who's taking like 40 million pictures and following us everywhere? It was Smiley you. You're funny. I hope I make you feel, I hope I make you better by being your loving, cheery wife like you. And you being the happy husband, show me in this early time your beautiful Bolivian mountains after a rainfall. The beautiful vertical streams were just like the movie Avatar. Did I dream that? All of you were asleep, and I was witnessing it by myself. It was sublime. After 6 years now went by, I was working in Minnesota. My job was eliminated. Our world shook again. Our house felt the tremors of sadness And I started the exciting idea of incorporating a new business at home. No capital was involved, and I gained clients. And you applauded me because I would either see them virtually or the commute was pretty feasible. Was that cheering real? Did we believe in that? Sometimes it seemed like it wasn't enough. I felt some weird force of needing to be financially independent. I had done that for so long and I sought a part-time or a full-time job. However, there was a mention at your work that we may be moving again, this time to St. Louis. It was now our 9th year. Moving to a warmer climate in St. Louis has been exciting, yet angst again. I could resume my coaching business here. I had to establish new clientele on a new canvas without crying. And within 2 years, I was coaching and soon again working. I hear you keep saying, you don't have to work, you know. Did I just hear like the sound of that slide whistle? In the 3rd spring here, COVID slowed us down, and I was truly awed to see my father's world in this neck of the woods is quite beautiful in the spring. I resolved that I want to pursue projects to help others with you. However, I'm skittish to start something new, all just to leave it. I'll end with the book, The Adventures of Being a Wife Again, where the author describes the global adventures alongside her husband, like when you take me to Bolivia to see your country. So similar are my adventures with you. Sometimes when there's no one else in the world, like last night, we call each other when we are at a distance. These holy moments together have made all the sacrifice of being a wife quite worth it in these decisions. Thank you for the beautiful and faithful life you have built for us. Our blessings far outweigh the loss during any move or a decision. I love you and congratulations to us on our sweet 16 anniversary tomorrow.
So here's my letter. Dear Connie, I always pray for wisdom to make good decisions. There are choices we have to make all the time. Reflecting on those times when we had to make some tough decisions, I'm always reminded about the times I asked you to move with me, pursuing the next chapter in my career. I know it was not easy to move so often, especially when we made new friendships and had to leave them very soon. We have been blessed with great people along the way. I remember the people at Cristo Rey Church in Lansing, Michigan, or our friends in Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. All the great co-workers we had along the way. I feel very grateful for them. I know how it feels to leave people we learn to love. I experienced it when I left my country, my home country, 27 years ago. It is a feeling of emptiness, a heavy heart, especially when they age. And every visit could be the last time we see them, like my uncle Gregorio this last year. I tried to change that feeling of emptiness with a feeling of mission. We are working for a better future for us and to share our blessings with those we love and those that we can help along the way. When we move, I try to also fill myself with a feeling of curiosity for the new places we can visit, the new people we can meet, and the contributions we can make. I hope you share those feelings with me. I know you also sacrifice leaving your home state. I'm very thankful for your loving sacrifice in every move. I also pray and hope that all these sacrifices we did help us prepare for the next chapter in our lives. Tomorrow, July 12th, is our 16th anniversary. I'm thankful that God brought us together. Having you by my side has been a blessing. I love you, Juan.
Oh, thank you. I will now ask you some questions. Thank you for my letter. It is indeed difficult to make decisions and how it affects us and our extended family sometimes. You mentioned you have the feeling of leaving Bolivia, and now we're on the 16 years. How has that feeling been, together? At first you were showing me around, and what have been your feelings over the years?
It's always hard to leave family behind. And it was different when I was single. That first time, it's hard. I always felt sad um, leaving my mother, especially like I I always worry about her, like who's going to help her, because I feel like I was trying to do that. Um, but then when we got married, it's a different feeling. Um, you want to share, or I want to share my family with you, so that made that feeling different. And now I want to spend time with them, the few days or the week that we go there, just try to just spend quality time with them. And then there is also the feeling of coming back home here to our new home, so it changes definitively um, when you get married and you start a new life, and I think they understand too, and you kind of adapt to that new reality.
Yeah, I share the same, where at the beginning of going to Bolivia, it's like, hey, look at the mountain and look at this and look at this. And now it's about, hey, what if we share a dream together? And then the other part is, how can we extend our time with your parents and an extended family? It's difficult to see every time we go, our nieces are growing a foot every time we go. Another question is, you mentioned about making tough decisions. Describe tough. Why is it tough? And you said something about being single or married. Why is it tough?
So some decisions are, learn to make better choices over the years, but some decisions that have life-changing consequences, some decisions that impact you and in your career, or like leaving your home state, those are difficult decisions. And over the years, the rational me, tries to weigh in pros and cons, and make a decision that is very thoughtful. But I will recognize sometimes, is difficult, because there are sacrifices that have to be made, and I say that on my letter, that I know the loving sacrifices you had to make, and I am very aware and very grateful for that over the years.
Yeah, and those sacrifices, they're nothing compared to the blessings. I say that now because we're not in a decision point right now, but it's easy to say right now, but sometimes during the decision points, it's not so easy to say, okay, I'll take the loss. And you also, one more question is, can you help me understand how do you change your energy? You said something about pivoting. Your heart is heavy. How do you pivot it for us into a mission?
Yeah, I try to shift that feeling of emptiness with that hope that what we're doing is for a better life, right? And they if you want to improve in your career or even try to contribute more in different capacities, right? You have to make changes, and that sense of purpose is been my way to change my feeling to more forward looking view, and then think about what could be, right? And then in doing that, our faith is always there, and we've been blessed in every move to find great people and trying to change that feeling of emptiness or the heavy heart for what could be, and also the hope that it was the right decision and that there's something better for us, right? And then what we can do, what we could do with that, not only for us, but also to contribute in some way in everywhere we go, and feel very, very, very blessed to get to do that.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. That strength. And as soon as you said that, I just thought of, a passage that says, I look to the Lord. Set my eyes on the hill, and where does my strength come from? It'll come from the Lord when we need to have that pivot. Because I look to you for that strength, and I'll remind us that that's where our strength comes from, and asking our mentors, from people from church and our extended community. So it's made all the difference.
And the thought that come back to me, to both of you, which it comes out to me, is that when you were single, Juan, in Bolivia, that was home. And for you, Connie, Michigan was home. And you met each other in Michigan. And the thought that struck me is that when two people become one in matrimony, they build the spirit of home, the teamwork of home. You've always sought spirituality to be expressed in wherever you're at. You've done that in other places, other churches. You did that in St. Charles now that you live, and you belong to St. Charles Borromeo. You've made choices to surround yourself with couples who support your matrimony through Marriage Encounter community. And interesting, as I hear you make those choices to go from Michigan to Minnesota to St. Louis, you realized, and you said it you haven't said it out loud, but you've said it to me anyway, and I'm sure those who are listening, that you build home wherever you are. Because you're at home with your faith, you're at home with your relationship, and wherever you go, you bring that with you, and you build that home. And so when you go to Bolivia, where you were raised, Juan, and you introduce the beautiful gift of Bolivia to your parents and extended family, and you have a sense of the home that they grew in, and now they get the flavor of your love, but also knowing that when you come back, it's home. This is where you're nesting now. And it's the relationship and the building of community that you have formed that builds that sense of home. And you've always worked it out, making that happen. And so you're grateful at the same time. Sometimes when you move, it's sad because you have to say goodbye to many people that you saw quite regularly. And now you start over again. And the evening's podcast, we had to move because last week you had a special moment at your parish to nurture you. And we made it happen. That's taking care of your relationship, which is always home. Even when you changed jobs about 6 months ago, you did it for the better of the community, and you kind of discerned out loud, and Connie's made many sacrifices, but she always seems to land on her feet and find a new nest to work in, and let the Lord work with you instead of at you. I think it's fantastic. And so you're grateful, you're blissful, you're upside down feeling at a time when you move, the upsetment, things are not the same, the house is not the same, and all of a sudden you put things in a way that almost sudden becomes comfortable and you call it home.
Yeah, and as you were saying those words, I just remember when we do go home, either to Michigan or a continent or two away, people used to say to me, Connie, I miss you. Come back home. I love you. And now both sides say, I miss you guys. I love you guys. It's like we're our unit. And now we have our dog. So they miss us as a unit.
Yes, they do. And you've built a larger extended family than what's initially, and your influence is wider, and your sense of being at home in many different settings. And in your workplaces, you bring your homeness with you. You bring that closeness as a team, as a sacramental gift of God's presence. You bring that with you. You don't leave it at home and say, I bring this to church on Sunday, but I leave my sacrament, us differently. No, it's a 24/7 hours and 7 days a week times a year. You never leave that presence. And you're at home at being home.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
That's
Thank
a
you.
gift. I'm so grateful for the guests we had today who shared willingly themselves in their dialogue. And thank you for joining us. I look forward to the next episode when I join you again once more.
This has been Marriage, Let's Talk, sponsored by Worldwide Marriage Encounter, the foremost faith-inspired marriage enrichment organization in the world, providing married couples with transformative experiences through couples retreats, small groups, and more. Learn to nurture love in your marriage at wwme.org. Marriage, Let's Talk is a production of Mater Media, the apostolate that offers the Celebrate Catholic Marriage experience to energize and fortify married couples through parish events and the 7-step journey to joy. Find out more at matermedia.org.